And now we have an A.L.I.C.E. training presentation. Who's going to be doing that, Mrs. Comm?
Yes, Officer Connery and Mrs. Blaisdell were the ones that drew the short straws, I guess. Actually, they volunteered. But they have a presentation on the A.L.I.C.E. program. They'll go into this. I just want to say that after the tragedies, the continued tragedies that are occurring in school shootings, starting particularly with what happened at Virginia Tech, and then, of course, that tragedy at Newtown, security folks began to continue to work with schools about what are we finding out about the best ways to keep as many children and adults who are in schools safe. And so there's some new protocols that are being presented out there that we've been talking about for about a year. The Chief Marino and I and Mr. Londa attended a presentation not long after the Newtown tragedy, and then again this fall with Chief Marino and Lieutenant Lutz, I attended another update that the FBI and Homeland Security presented. So the chief was able to work and get a training here in Lunenburg, and we had several school personnel as well as several officers that attended, and it's our recommendation that we continue to look at this program and look towards implementing it. This begins the conversation. We've scheduled a parent meeting for interested parents to learn more about the program, and our administrators have started sharing with faculties what this program means, and we're looking towards additional training happening in the fall. So with that, I'll ask Mrs. Blaisdell to go ahead and begin. I think everybody has a copy of that presentation as well.
Well, Sergeant Connery and I put together some slides, to show you tonight. It's a very brief presentation. Just to get the acronym out there as far as what A.L.I.C.E. stands for. On March 10th and 11th, as Ms. Comm's discussed, representatives from the Lunenburg Police Department as well as the Lunenburg Public Schools attended a 2-day training at our Lunenburg Safety Building. We not only heard about the reasons why we need to do something different, but we were also able to implement several of the strategies that are talked about in the A.L.I.C.E. training. This is a program that's supported and taught by the A.L.I.C.E. Training Institute. And I understand that, just having these discussions of Sandy Hook and Newtown causes a lot of anxiety for a lot of individuals. So this is not an easy topic to talk about, but it's clear that we need to be looking at our current procedures differently, and that's why we're presenting for us to be thinking about a new enhanced lockdown procedure. Sergeant Connery is going to talk a little bit about why we're presenting this.
Thank you again for having me here this evening. The training that we received March 10th and 11th through the A.L.I.C.E. program has showed me some different options. I do some tactical teaching for the police department, and I've looked at a bunch of different programs, and I believe this program started in 2001 and has evolved since then. Through the years, through different shootings that have occurred through the country. Different, I don't know where the slide is, but on the second slide, U.S. Department of Homeland Security, the International Association of Chiefs of Police, Guide for Preventing and Responding to School Violence, and actually New York City has just implemented this in their city. It's, like I said, it's always evolving. There's different aspects of this, and I think it really empowers the teachers and the students within the school systems to react to different situations. I think it's a very good overall program that's been put in place. The program started in 2001, like I said, by an officer in Fort Worth, Texas, He designed it for his wife, who was a principal at an elementary school at that time. Him seeing the need for it and nothing being in place in Fort Worth, Texas, that's why he came up with this program at that time. It's based on the 3 natural responses that you have: flight, fight, and fear or freeze. It's based around those 3 natural responses. The flight there's some counter strategies in the acronym C for counter. Flight is to evacuate, again, in the acronym E for evacuate, and freeze or lockdown. Currently, school-wide, I believe that the school is in a lockdown system, which is good in some situations, but not good in all of the situations that could be presented during a situation.
It's based on the premise that information, authorization, and proactive training are key. Alert standing for all are authorized to announce, that we wouldn't rely on the notification or the notice to staff that there's an active shooter in the building just coming from one source. It would come from the immediate source. It would come from the first responders, and our staff and our students, or our staff in our buildings will be first responders. Lockdown being, including more steps than just locking the door and going to the corner and hiding. It would involve barricading. It's not a linear or progressive program. It provides recommended options for individuals based on the information that's presented, the immediate information that's presented. It's not a go and wait approach. It's a go, be informed, and then act accordingly based on the information that's being presented to you at that time. Okay, so it puts the power back in the hands of the individuals versus the lockdown and wait. The time frames based on the studies and the information that has been provided for the other last 25 years of research has shown that the survival rate needs to be changed. These incidences that have occurred over the last several years have resulted in deaths within the first 5 to 6 minutes. And that's very difficult to take. So this is why we're presenting something different here.
Part of that training on March 10th also that the teachers in the police department did was scenario-based. And during that scenario-based, we did a lockdown. And the teachers are able to see what would actually happen if an active shooter came into a classroom and how stationary the targets are and how vulnerable that you actually are in that situation. I think it was a good and eye-opening event for them to see. And like I explained to them in our training over the last 5 or 6 years, that has also changed with the active shooter as far as our response. Excuse me. So, this is, again, a viable option to change from just a straight lockdown.
Mm-hmm. We're going to go through the 5 stages just briefly. We're not going to go into a lot of detail about each one. The first one is alert. It would be anybody that is noticing that there is a stranger in the building or approaching the building. They would then get on the PA system in any way or through any kind of means of communication, the PA system, a Twitter account, a Facebook account, a cell phone, to alert individuals that there's imminent danger. This information flows in all directions, so it could be multiple people that are saying and reporting on the movements of an individual that has intruded. And again, as I said, our staff is, they're the first responders in these kind of situations.
And the next one, the lockdown, it's an excellent starting point. Again, when should the doors be locked? Obviously, immediately during an alert, before, during, or after. Again, depends on the situation. Locked doors provide a time barrier. Locks can and have been defeated. Again, in our scenario-based training on the 10th and 11th, the teachers saw that, taking instruments within the classroom to barricade the door and give you more time to get out, evacuate through another door, and other examples of that lockdown, and resources what you can use with inside the classroom to give you a better time frame to do a little bit more with that.
Okay. The next area of being informed, our traditional lockdowns have been lockdown, we are in lockdown, and that was it. Then the teachers followed their protocols within their emergency binders and folders, locking their doors, moving the children away from windows and the door, and then waiting. With this system, we are informing them of the intruder's every move as best we can, and everybody is informing everybody of movement. If the person is going by a door, then a teacher may be using a cell phone or maybe using something to indicate, that this person just went by their door, so that we're getting that information out. That information is going to be critical in having people make the decisions, the real-time decisions that they need to make at that time. If we're reporting that an intruder is in one side of our building, then that should be, helping people in another side of the building make decisions to evacuate or to move children into a safer location. So that inform piece is critical.
The C for counter. Some people believe that this is, empowering the kids to fight. It's not empowering the kids to fight per se. It's empowering them to make distraction techniques, to distract the shooter, to give other people more time. It's grade-based, grade 5 through 8. There's small counter techniques, grades 8 through 12. There's different techniques to swarm an attacker. So there's different aspects of that. Again,
this is only if they're in imminent danger.
Yep.
Bodily harm. So it's those kind of things. It just provides that other option rather than being in a corner and cowering. It's our natural reaction to freeze that way. But if we're training our children that there are other things that can be done to distract, to deter, to distract and get away, then that's a better decision in a lot of cases. When we think about the skill rates of a police officer versus an active shooter that may be coming in the building, we all know what our natural reaction is when something's being thrown at us. A water bottle, a ball, a book. Your natural reaction is going to be to duck and to put your head up, or to swing around, or to move. That's an opportunity that our children, could take advantage of to get away at that point, that our staff can take advantage of to get away. Developmentally, obviously, I don't want a kindergartner countering, but I do want them to know that when they're in that kind of situation, just as they are if they're in a fire evacuation situation, that the most important thing is to listen and do what they're being asked to do. React to what they're being asked to do. To listen carefully, to stay quiet and listen to their teachers. That's going to be developmentally appropriate for a primary school child.
In the evacuate, only 2% of violent intruder events have been by more than one person. Some people think that it's better to stay in school because there might be somebody else out there. Statistics show that's not the case. Rallying points, obviously that's something's got to be discussed within the school system, and what places to rally to. And again, options of evacuating the classroom, routes out of the classroom, out through windows, out through ulterior doors, all that stuff's empowering, again, the teachers or the students to think forward and get into that mindset that if something does happen, that's an alternative, and what should they do? Think about it ahead of time.
Okay. So we will be needing the assistance of the community in that area, in this last area, as far as what would be our reunification points. Area businesses, area buildings that are around our schools. Coordination of, if we do have a rallying point at a specific place, getting our buses there to get children moved to a safe location. In cooperation with the police department and our community, we're going to need to name those places, develop the routes to those places, and get those places established. Just at the primary school, I can't send 513 students to the same location. So thinking about those kind of those strategic locations is going to be very important. And we need to get those, would need to get those in place. And these are things that, based on our meeting that we already had in March, that we're already starting to think about and starting to take those kind of plans and move forward with the next steps. What do we need to do next to get started? I actually wanted to ask John to come up and assist us with this slide. The first step would be for us to inform the community and staff about what A.L.I.C.E. is, and to answer questions and be able to field those questions with responsible answers that will alleviate some of the fears that people might have around changes like this. The first thing we're going to be doing is informing community and staff with a forum on April 30th, 2014 at the high school.
It's going to be classroom 13 at the Passios at 7 p.m.
Sorry, changed. So classroom 13 at the TC Passios at 7 p.m. Yep. Okay. Yep. And then we'd need to train staff. We've actually had looked at the next year's schedule and purposely felt that if we had 2 days at the beginning of the year, that we could roll out this training and get the staff prepared with updated procedures and policies to incorporate A.L.I.C.E. into our security protocols. The next two areas that we need to do are enhancing security and communication systems in our building, as well as enhancing police access, and that's what John's going to talk a little bit about.
So the thing there is that this is a change of strategies. It kind of does influence how we look at how communications operate in the building. The primary school, it has the ability for multiple locations around the school to be able to use the building-wide intercom. And that's the kind of capabilities we're going to need to make this work as a strategy. We can't just have one location in the school, and that's the only place you can broadcast building-wide. Unfortunately, that's what we have at the middle school currently. That's what we have at the high school currently. The high school will obviously be taken care of as we build the middle school, high school, but we recognized and had this in our capital plan that we knew we needed to do some upgrades to the communication systems at the middle school. So we have invited out a contractor who's on the statewide contract list for communications equipment to put together a plan to merge both the phone system and the intercom system at the middle school to give us also that capability of building-wide access, so that if someone is in the far end of the building, they still would be able to get word to what's going on in their location to the rest of the building. So that's going to be an important communication piece. The primary school has some of that capability currently, but we might want to look at some small additions to be able to get that a little more robust than it currently is. As far as enhanced security, when we had the Secure Our Schools grant back in 2008, we said, well, we need to get a surveillance system for the high school, and we have that. So we have the capability, and the police department can remotely come in and see what's going on. So if they have to respond to something going on in the high school, they can get some eyes into the high school. It's somewhat limited. There are some areas in the high school that we have vision, and we have a pretty decent coverage on the exterior of the building. But for our other schools, we don't have that capability. And the one thing we did really picked up from Newtown is that, even our youngest learners are at risk. And so we need to look at, surveillance systems that are going to go down to all of our schools. So we've asked the contractor, also on statewide contract, to come out and help us get some pricing identified, some budget numbers for what it would take to add security cameras at the primary school and at the middle school. And so those will come back to us, and we will fit them into our capital plan and get those included as well. The middle schools were a little bit hampered because, we obviously have an asbestos project that we're looking at for this summer, which keeps us from getting above the ceilings. And obviously, if you're going to put wiring in for cameras, you got to get above ceilings. So that probably would be the last thing we would do. But we need to identify them, get costs identified, work them into our capital plan so we can have that in there. And then as we are able to fund those, bring those online. The other thing we need to do about enhancing the police access to the building is we currently have Knox boxes on the exterior of all of our schools. Allows the fire department to come and without any assistance, able to access the building. We need to have the police have that same capability. So we'll be looking to put Knox boxes on all of our buildings. That'll be, police department specific. But when the police department arrive, they know that, if we've in a completely locked building, that they're still going to be able to get in. So that'll be another thing we'll add. And then finally, we'll need to update our policies and procedures. And like I said, identification of rally points and things like that are going to be an important part to be added into our procedures.
Okay.
That's just a little bit about the A.L.I.C.E. program. If you have any questions, we can field them.
Just one quick note I wanted to add that we'll have to pay careful attention to. The governor, has a special task force looking at this. And in talking to the Secretary of Education, they are cognizant that part of what needs to happen with regard to the security and safety of our buildings will require some infrastructure enhancements, which require some finances for it. So I think that's an important thing, just like the Safe Schools grant that we're out there for those years is to look at, as the state begins to roll out this model or the suggestions that they're going to put with that, is to look for hopefully some financing that might be able to support this program other than just our capital plan.